Bienvenidos a todos, mi nombre es Sara Longoni. Mientras empiezan a entrar a otras personas, yo les cuento que damos la bienvenida a esta charla. Esta charla es en el marco del Master in Business and Management de la Universidad de Bologna, Campus de Buenos Aires. Es un honor y un placer poderlos tener acá, nuestros expositores, que van a hacer esta hermosa charla sobre luxury and fashion company are responding to the current economic scenario. Y mientras entran más personas, vamos a presentar a Angelo Manaresi, que es profesor de la Universidad de Bologna, PhD de la London School. Es un gusto y un honor poder tener acá a Angelo. Y puedo pasarte la palabra.
Grazie. Thank you. This talk will be in English. My name is Angelo Manaresi. As Sara said, I am a professor of the University of Bologna, and I'm very much interested also in the specific industry, fashion and luxury goods, because not only it's a very important industry for Italian companies, but also it's been an area of research, especially for what regards the relationship between branding and distribution. This is the area of research in which I worked a lot in the past. Together with me today, we have a manager of many companies in the fashion and luxury, Nicola Giorgi, who is also a professor at the University of Bologna now and at the Bologna Business School, teaching branding and subjects related to these industries. So today we will try to discuss between us and together with you. We will be very happy to open the discussion to all people who are present at this talk, and we would like to discuss, to open issues more than say the final word, of course, about some of the most important trends in the fashion and luxury industries. Not only related to the COVID pandemic and the present international crisis, but in more in general, of course, with some specific focus on that. So, first of all, let me thank you, Nicola, and I'd like to also thank all people present this evening. We are very proud of our Buenos Aires branch. Is the only international university, foreign university that has been officially accepted in Argentina from the Ministry of Education 25 years ago almost. And we think that launching a master program in business management with a specific focus on Latin America and Europe is an opportunity to reinforce our activity, research, and teaching activity in our branch in Buenos Aires. Leveraging on the experience of some researchers that we have in Italy on these matters. I will try to act as almost an interviewer, a discussant, because Nicola Giorgi, who is the real expert here. I'm just a researcher. He is also a practitioner, so he did things with his own hands, not just talking like myself. One of the main issues that we see in the industry nowadays is the fact that the luxury companies seems to have a strong engine that make them survive even in the worst time. What do you think, Nicola? The microphone?
Sorry.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be part of this charla, and thank you also to Sarah and the whole team in Buenos Aires. I hope you can hear me well. I've been working for fashion and luxury companies till 2017 as an executive, and in the last years, I'm still working as a consultant. So your question is very interesting because what you see now is that the world of fashion and luxury is very polarizing. So brands that are in the middle are squeezed. So the brands that are doing well are either at the bottom, so let's say the budget brands, so because of the economic conditions of the consumers, so people looking for bargains, so to say, or brands at the top. So luxury reacted very well to pandemic because after 1 year, they came back to where they were originally before the pandemic. And most of the brands, especially the strong French and Italian brands, are even doing better. So the conditions are very difficult. There are a lot of opportunities and challenges, but what is a matter of fact is that luxury is thriving. So brands like Louis Vuitton or Christian Dior or Saint Laurent or Prada, they are doing amazingly well. So the first question could be also addressed in terms of the fact that the numbers of ultra net worth individuals, so the very rich individuals that have a very high disposable income, it's growing. It's growing almost everywhere, but it's growing at a strong pace, especially in North America, in US, and in Asia. So those brands that are very well received by Americans and by Chinese in general, Greater China, can enjoy a very good momentum.
Yeah, and one thing that it makes it less obvious is that in the whole world, digital business is developing, but luxury is going very strong, is going well, even if it's not the best option, digital e-commerce for a $20,000 bag. So they are doing well, even if what is going very fast is e-commerce that is not the best option for them. So that's why I feel that they have very strong engine down there.
So there are a few things that can be said. The first thing is that e-commerce, of course, got a very strong acceleration during the pandemic. Now, brands like the French brand that I mentioned or the big Italian brands are selling something like 10 to 15% of their revenues are coming from e-commerce, which is it's a lot. One of my clients, it's Fendi, and Fendi had a policy that they were not selling expensive bags on e-commerce. So you can buy a bag for, let's say, 3,000 euro, but you can also buy a bag for 30,000 euro. And before the pandemic, they said, who the hell is going to buy such an expensive bag on the internet? But during the pandemic, they were forced to show everything. And they were very surprised to see that there were clients that were buying bags for 20, 30, 50,000 euro on e-commerce. So e-commerce for strong brands that you don't need to discover, it's a very strong way of selling. Said that, what we see now that most of the shops are open everywhere. There are a few exceptions in China. We can see that customers are very happy to go back to the stores. So e-commerce has taken new customers there, but also what is called omni-channel. So customers are exploring the goods on the website. They are trying to see what they can buy, but a lot of the purchases happen in the stores. One more thing that is happening is that, especially in luxury, travel was very important before the pandemic. A lot of customers were buying in a different country. So we had Chinese and Asians and Americans coming to Europe, South Americans going to New York. Now the scenario has changed, and brands need to adapt to that because not everybody is allowed to travel. For instance, we don't see Asians in Europe. Chinese are not allowed to come out. So we see a lot of local or domestic customers that were not used to buy expensive things at home that now buy things in their neighborhood. So what is amazing is that I was speaking to some of the top brands, and some of the brands in China almost doubled their sales because Chinese, instead of going to Europe or going to America to buy, now are buying at home. So of course there are big questions. Also, you mentioned the fact about distribution, for instance. There are a lot of brands that now are having the stores in the wrong place. You have huge stores in Milano or in New York that are a little empty. And maybe you have small stores in Hong Kong or in Shanghai where people are just queuing up to buy the latest bag from Chanel. So also a lot of brands now are trying to understand what they should do with the big stores they have in some European countries.
What you said that people seem to be happy to go back to stores and buy luxury products, what we usually say real luxury products or exclusive luxury product inside some stores. My perception is that in some cases during this pandemic we got drunk of e-commerce, and in a way we go back appreciating the physical contact with products. Do you think this is also for luxury products? Is this, in your opinion, something that is important for luxury products? So touching the product, having a contact, or is something more social? I mean, is about the social point of view of going and in a way showing off, doing the shopping?
Before I answer to that, I need to mention the fact that during the pandemic, the customers changed their behavior in terms of what goods had to be bought. I mean, when you are locked down, you are not going to parties, you don't have any religious occasion, you don't go to weddings, and that, so on and so forth. So during the pandemic, all brands were selling something different. They were selling a lot of loungewear. They were selling a lot of comfortable things.
Sneakers.
You can wear now. And in fact, a lot of brands enjoyed sales with, for instance, sneakers, sport, so very comfortable clothes. So what is happening now is that in terms of mindset, customers are a little bit tired of those stuff. And of course, they are also going back to those special occasions. So you get invitation for a wedding, you get invitation for religious occasions, and so on and so forth. So in a way, the product portfolio is going back to what it used to be before, okay? Which is a very important driver, especially in luxury, because people really buy things when they need to make gifts or when they need to make a special appearance. So it's very important. Special occasions are a big driver in luxury. The second thing is that, of course, when you go to a store, now you can enjoy a lot of things also in terms of service. The customer service that luxury brands are giving, it's amazing because people are very well trained. You can get a lot of information about the product. And of course, you can touch the product itself. So it's also a combination. You can investigate the product from the website, but in the end, you want to go there. And we don't have to forget that, especially for clothes, trying the clothes on is very important because technology has developed a lot of new features when it comes to bags or accessories. I mean, solid things. Okay, try on, virtual try-ons, and that technology. But that technology is not good when it comes to a clothes, when it comes to a dress. So in order to understand how your jacket would look on you, you need to try it on. You see what I mean? So we see that it's a lot of traffic going back. And of course, now what has changed is that the technology that we used during the pandemic is still in use. I mean, you can get an appointment by booking an appointment on the website. You can even check if that specific item is available in the store. So you can even ask to that specific item to be put aside for you to try on. So technology is really helping the service because you can imagine you take your car, you drive 2 hours down to the city center, you get there, and the item that you're looking for is not there. That's a very bad experience. If you check it on the web, you take an appointment with a sales assistant, you are sure that your jacket or your dress is there, and you drive down and then you make a purchase. So the customer experience is really something that has improved a lot because of all the things that have been done during the pandemic.
Let's talk for a moment about what you said at the beginning, which is one of the most important matters, the fact that there is a polarizing effect during crisis or during even very, very frequent stages of the economic development, polarizing effect, so the very expensive products, exclusive luxury, on the one hand, they go well, and also the very cheap, the basic, much more affordable products. What's happening in the middle? I mean, Michael Porter used to say that in some cases, companies that cannot be proficient, excellent from the differentiation point of view got beaten because there are others that are better, and at the same time, if they are not able to be good in cost and pricing, there will be others that are better than them, so that they got stuck in the middle. Is it this kind of situation now? I mean, is the stuck in the middle theory of Michael Porter going to be the valid explanation for this kind of difficult time that the brands that are in the middle, let's say a 300 euro bag or something like that, do you think this is the explanation?
That's exactly what is happening right now. I have to say that it's even worse because some external conditions have changed. Think about the logistics gridlock that we had during the pandemics. The shipping costs have improved, the material costs have improved. It's very difficult to source some materials from far. So a lot of fashion companies need to define a different supply chain because it's very difficult to get your textiles, for instance, from China or India at a very good cost. I say it's even worse because if you're a strong brand, you don't have an elastic demand. Hermes is basically increasing prices every second month. Chanel is doing the same. And people are
amazing.
saying, wow,
prices are going up and sales are going up.
Sales are going up.
In the last 10 years, I mean, not just now.
Yes. And in the last 3 years, they even increased even more.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the price of a Rolex watch today or a Chanel or a Hermes bag, it's incredible. Mm-hmm. They almost doubled in 10 years. And you might expect that demand to stop, but it's not happening. So what is happening is that if you are Chanel and you increase your price by 30% in a year, you increase sales. If you are a brand in the middle and you do the same, you just go down. We have a good example in Bologna, for instance. There is a bag brand based in Bologna that it's exactly in this situation because you are selling a 300 euro bag. And there is also a lot of, when you buy luxury, and so I can also introduce another topic, which is sustainability. Second-hand is very strong. You can easily buy a Rolex or a Chanel bag, use it for 1 year, and sell it. And sometimes you even earn some money, or at least you don't lose. If you do the same with a 300 bag, or with a pair of jeans from, Diesel, the company I work with, you are not making that. So customers can easily buy that stuff, which is also good because a lot of companies are now starting some kind of circular economy, new business models. I am personally working with 2 or 3 big brands in the luxury environment that want to take control of second-hand sales. Because they say, why should I leave Angelo to sell his second-hand bag on the market? I can buy Angelo's bag for 1,000 euro and sell it for 1,500. So I keep control of the brand, I keep control of the price, and this can also be an entry level into the luxury world with a second-hand bag, which is exactly what is happening in other businesses like cars. Maybe you don't have the money to buy a new Audi or a Mercedes, but you can have the money to buy a 3 years old or a 5 years old Audi or Mercedes. That customer who would enjoy a used car in 3 years, 5 years, can have enough money to buy a new car. So this is happening as well in the luxury environment.
Top luxury.
Top luxury. And this is very bad for brands that are in the middle, because they cannot exploit their brand in terms of increasing prices. They have rising costs. And sometimes it's also a matter of size, because there are a lot of fashion and luxury brands that are very small, and they don't have enough money to invest in sustainability, invest into advertising or generating demand or opening stores in Asia. So that's why also we see a lot of M&A. We see a lot of companies that are being sold or being bought by big conglomerates.
Yeah. So somewhere there are a lot of companies that are in the middle. Sometimes we call these segments affordable luxury or premium. We used to say that there is exclusive luxury, then affordable luxury, then premium, and then the mass market. At least 4 of these segments. And probably the affordable are those that are in a way in trouble unless they convince people to go back to appreciate the activity of shopping, the shopping for shopping.
There is another factor.
As an activity.
there is another factor that is helping, because in general that is true. But of course, in the fashion and luxury world, design is very important. And there are a lot of newcomers. There are new brands that are coming in every day. You know, fashion has very low entry barriers. It's quite easy to start a fashion brand. So we can see brands coming from Scandinavia, coming from Hungary, coming from South America, which are developing very well. So from 0 to 100 million, it's maybe not easy, but it's feasible. The brands that are in trouble are those brands that are a little bit more traditional and less developed, and they are not hot anymore. So think about brands, the good brands that used to be strong in Italy, like Missoni, Trussardi. Everybody knows this brand. Yeah. But they are falling down in terms of being appealing. They are not appealing to young customers anymore. And of course, I mean, you know, in China, because that's the other thing of luxury. We think of luxury in Europe as something that is bought by an old lady, which is true. Hermes and Chanel, they're selling to 60, 70 years old lady in Milan, in Paris, in London. But the same bag in China or in California is sold to somebody who's 30, 35 years old. So if you are not hot or cool enough to target those new audiences, you are lost.
Yeah. I remember the first time I understood how complex is geographical international segmentation when I saw advertising from Louis Vuitton, and you know, yesterday Mikhail Gorbachev died, and we all know that that advertising in Europe, and at the same time, more or less, so there was Mikhail Gorbachev in a car talking about, or with some words about the journey, life as a journey.
Yes.
You understand things, and you posted something like that yesterday. I saw that, Nicola. And in fact, his advertising I remember very well, because it was in a way surprising, but it was in a way deep in terms of understanding about what not only the business, but also about how products can be related to life of people. But at the same time, in the US, Louis Vuitton was advertising with a testimonial, Lenny Kravitz, who is a rock singer, always with the gold chains, exactly. And what they call the bling bling sector. And that was more or less at the same time, you know, different positioning. And so it's a very complex job, that of those companies that have to try to have an identity, because if you haven't got some kind of consistent identity, you get lost. But at the same time, they have to target people of very different kind across continents. And so...
No, I posted Mikhail Gorbachev, as you said, because I liked very much that piece of advertising. And you from the back of the car, from the window, you see the Berlin Wall. Yes. So it's something that is very iconical. Yes. Okay, life is a journey. And if you think about the kind of influencers that we're talking about today, usually young girls or young boys that are dancing on TikTok, okay, you can have the sense of how difficult now is to do that kind of branding. But again, even today, some brands are trying to address different target audience with different medias. Think about Gucci, for instance. They are investing strongly in the metaverse. Metaverse is only talking to teenagers that are playing video games on Roblox, on those platforms. But at the same time, they are featuring Gucci at the Venice Film Festival, at the Oscars, or they're doing some kind of traditional advertising. So you need a lot of skills to do that. Branding is quite complicated. I mean, when I started, it was quite easy. You just put some money on television, on newspapers or magazines, and you wait for customers to come to your stores. Today, the digital touchpoints are so different that it takes a lot of time and money and skills to do that. And that's why, and sometimes I think it's also not very fortunate, the big corporations are doing better and better because they are big organizations, they have big money. So for those brands in the middle, it's not easy because if you're not hot and you don't have big money, how can you fight?
Yeah, concentration effects in the fashion and luxury are not usually based on scale economy, are more based on branding and managerial skills.
Exactly.
One thing, just talking about the opposite side of the coin, we sometimes talk about fast fashion as being, in a way, at a decline stage from the momentum of where we are about sustainability, about consumerism. So people might stop buying products in the fast fashion segments because they start thinking that we should buy things that can last, this kind of trend. But is this real? I mean, or is just a story that we talk about, but in fact, I mean, companies in the fast fashion business are not going bankrupt at the moment.
No, can I be very honest? To me, it's a very controversial thing because if you ask people, they would say that they would prefer sustainable products.
Sure, they talk.
But that's the big thing about making straight questions like this, because there is a kind of social acceptance. I mean, if somebody come to me and would say, do you do do you like sustainable products? What should I answer? Yes, for sure.
It's like saying that there should not be poverty in the world.
Yes, exactly. Or do you love your mama? Yes, sure. But and that's everywhere. But at the same time, as you said, one of the brand that is developing the most in the world is Shein or Shine. Okay, the Chinese fast fashion.
Yeah.
You can buy a bikini coming from China for €9.99, shipped to your home. Okay, it's pure plastic. They introduce something like 1,000 new products every day based on artificial intelligence that is scanning the web to check what competitors are doing. So all teenagers would say that they're very much concerned about the environment, but after they say so, they go home and they buy fashion from Shein. The other thing is that traditional fast fashion brands like H&M and Zara, they are working very hard on their sustainability issues. And of course, you need to discriminate when they are doing some kind of greenwashing or when they are making very strong attempts. Because of course, there are issues. There are ethical issues when you have people in China that are suing your products and they work, 16 hours per day, and they are underpaid or they have very bad labor conditions. So it's a very big topic, but as you say, numbers are showing that they are not in trouble.
Yeah, and the brand you mentioned, the Shine, I mean, there was an article from Forbes some months ago, I think 6, 8 months ago, saying that they are selling about 15, 20 billion
Exactly.
dollars.
Exactly.
So, and it's a relatively new company.
It's new, but at the same time, Zara is doing well. H&M is doing well.
Yeah.
So, and they still do.
They are doing restructuring about stores. So they are closing some, they are opening others in other areas, but they're not just shrinking. I mean, they are
Yeah.
moving things.
Yeah, they are restructuring because when they started, usually 10, 15 years ago, they were taking very big stores, 2,000, 3,000, even 5,000 square meters.
And they have too many in Europe.
They have too many stores, too closed. Now they sell, I mean, companies like Zara, 30% of the business is coming from e-commerce. So
yeah,
you don't need,
that is very strong. That
yeah.
Trend is very strong. E-commerce for fast fashion. So fast fashion is not really shrinking, is changing probably a little bit.
Changing is not shrinking. Who's really suffering again? It's the brands in the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah.
So if I was the owner of a brand in the middle, should I just increase price?
Yeah, it's very much depending on what they are doing. No, what they are doing usually is they are restructuring collections. So they usually had too many labels, too many second lines. So they are restructuring collections. They are getting rid of the low-selling products, and they are trying to concentrate on the core business.
So, yeah, we know so many of these brands, and they more or less have the same problems. One is a generation, a different generation of entrepreneur should take over in some cases, so they become good for private equity funds.
Exactly.
Then another problem they have is that they haven't got so much managerial skills to go international. So they rely on export, but they do not have a strong presence abroad. So they haven't got their own people abroad. They sometimes rely on agents, but agents do not like to to tell companies the reason why they sell or not sell their products. They don't tell. It's like a curtain. So it's more or less some problems that you see over and over in different companies. And the more we go around companies, the more we see that in this intermediate segment, there are very common problems, very similar problems.
And also they have problems in attracting new talents, which is another thing. Because if you are a small company, family owned or family run, not very open to change, it's very difficult to hire the right people.
And often they are in villages
Yes.
and where people might not like to go and live. So yeah, attracting talents is one of the big elements. Listen, Nicola, one important topic in terms of strategic behavior of companies is vertical integration.
Yes.
Sometimes we talk about that matter, and I did some research about this in the last years, and I saw that. Of course, the top luxury companies, the very exclusive luxury companies, very long ago decided to go direct. Their own stores, they cut during the 90s, they cut franchise stores, and they wanted to go direct. Then the big players in the fast fashion go direct. They do retailing, their own retailing very often. Those that are in the middle sometimes have not got the resources to do nice mono brand stores, so they rely a lot on franchising. And at the moment, when launching the e-commerce, they started having troubles with the franchisees because some franchisees say, why should I work on this brand, all my life dedicated to this brand, if the owner of this brand sell products to customers who are in my area? So it's the encroachment problem. So the conflict that emerge. Do you think that this could push companies or force companies, franchisors, to open their own stores much more and rely less on franchising?
This is happening for sure, I would say. If you look at the geography, still brands are opening franchising in those countries where they are not sure about political stability, or there is a completely different language, or the market is a little bit closed, like China or India. So markets like China, India, Dubai, there will be always place for local distributors or franchising. But we also know that there are a lot of failures because those franchisees are very opportunistic. So it's not easy to make business with these big corporations because they distribute, 100 brands. So if you're not a strong brand, it's not easy to keep control of what somebody else is doing on your brand. And for instance, Burberry got big problems in Japan because they had a lot of distributors that was even producing local clothes without telling Burberry. So something like 10 years ago, they had to cancel the contract. Said that, everybody would like to go direct, but there are two issues. The first issue is that not every brand is big enough to have monobrand stores. If you're small, and even if you have the money to open a monobrand store, your revenues are not there. I have clients that are having shops in China that sell 200,000 euro per year, and 50% of that is done during the sales period.
So nothing.
It's nothing. I mean, maybe nothing. if you sell candies, you do better than that. That's also why a lot of brands now are thinking about getting private equities or getting big groups in there because they can fund the development. Because it takes a lot of money to open up stores, especially around the world. So again, M&A is a big trend that we will see even in the future because small or medium-sized companies, they cannot make it alone. And the other big trend in terms of distribution is that the big corporations are taking control, and this might be an opportunity for some other brands, because brands like Gucci or Versace or Valentino, they are even cutting down the number of independent stores that are selling their product. Because there is a big elephant in the room that nobody's talking about, which is gray import. In Italy, there are companies with revenues of 100 million euro with 2 stores. It means that those 2 stores sell 5 million euro, and 95 million euro is Valentino bags or Gucci bags that are bought by somebody in Bologna, in Florence, or in Paris, and sent to China and Korea.
Sure. Or now Russia.
Or Russia.
Now.
Big corporations know that, and now Gucci is saying, why the hell should I sell bags to somebody in Bologna to be sold in China? I can do it myself.
Sure.
So they are cutting down on the availability. They are not giving product, or they are increasing prices. This means that there might be room for some other brands to replace the powerful brands in terms of distribution. Because, of course, there is a big market, which is China, that is asking for a lot of product. So the things are changing very fast in this very moment. I think it's not over yet, also because of the war and the economic recession. Even the supply chains need to be redesigned. So everybody shorter. You cannot get your cashmere done in China. You better have it in Turkey because it might come in 2 weeks instead of 3 months.
Yeah, more reliable.
More reliable, cheaper, because now transports are very expensive.
Gotten back to be very expensive now.
Yes.
This
is not going to change. So there are new markets, for instance, that are manufacturing fashion now, which are not, which are newcomers. For instance, Africa. In Ethiopia, Kenya, they are producing fashion. Turkey is becoming a very big producer.
We are teaching them in a way. We have in our global MBA, we have a lot of people from Turkey and also from some countries in Africa.
Yeah, because they know very well how to do it with cotton, denim, jersey, all that stuff. It's something they can do.
And they are quite creative also.
Yes, and
especially in Africa.
They have some brands, even in Turkey, that are getting quite big. In Europe as well.
So we are facing a very fast-changing environment. I think there is a lot of scope for change also in the ownership structure of companies. For example, one of the big trends in the luxury groups, the big luxury groups like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and so on, is to buy out the suppliers. So they come to Tuscany, for example, and they buy the leather good suppliers because they are afraid of losing them. They know that it's difficult to replace them, and they want to put some more money and make them bigger. So this is one of the vertical integration trends upwards that we are looking at the moment.
So if you think about those brands, they're going for a full vertical integration. They buy out the suppliers. They even buy out or they run their own logistics. So they have their own trucks, they have their own boats, and some companies are even doing some vertical integration in terms of materials and textiles. Loro Piana, they have ships in South America. And Zegna as well. So so I think that for luxury brands, the vertical integration is the roadmap.
Yeah, one important matter is nowadays communication through different tools and channels. Digital marketing, of course, and also some people, influencer, for example. One big question, of course, we haven't got research done yet about that extensively, so we cannot probably say a final word about that at all. But one question that we wonder is whether it is enough to communicate through influencers, through digital marketing, to build a brand in a country where you're not present with your brand without setting up physical stores. So is it enough to do that? We have some examples, but not that many yet. So what do you think?
It's also depending on which markets you want to approach. For instance, a market like China, it's not enough.
Because it's too big, you mean?
It's too big. You need a big presence in terms of stores. You need to be seen. And
but in such a big country, you need a lot of stores then.
you need 50. You need 100, or at least you need big stores in the big cities to start with. So that's why it's very expensive, because there are a lot of niche brands that are doing some kind of social selling, but it's okay if you are a niche brand. Niche brand, I mean, if you sell 10 million or 50 million, you can leave out of that. But if you want to become very big, because that's a big thing. I mean, moving from 50 million to 1 billion, you need financial resources that were not needed 20, 30, 40 years ago. Also because the world now is fragmented. Luxury 30 years ago was basically Europe, US, and Japan. Now you sell in Iran, you sell in Nigeria, you sell in South Africa, in Israel, in Brazil, in Argentina, everywhere. So the elite are everywhere. And they want the same brands. They want Fendi, Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior. So for newcomers, the budget that is needed to build your own brand, it's never enough. And I mean, social marketing and social media is getting very important, because it's still cheap in a way compared to building big stores or running huge advertising campaigns.
Sure. Nicola, we did some talk now for about an hour. So I think we could, in a way, stop for a moment. And I would like to open this session to discussion with people who are connected. And I'd like to also understand what they do, why they are here today, and what is their experience, because I always find that we learn more than we say when we teach sometimes by discussing with the people in a class or people in a group, and so it's always very interesting and for us as well. So I think that these luxury and fashion industries are interesting examples of a very large group of companies and products that from far seems to be relatively homogeneous, but in fact there are so many different segments, kind of companies, the large, the small, the most exclusive, the mass market companies. And in a way, when we talk about fast fashion, managing a fast fashion companies need to know a lot about fashion, but a lot about fast moving consumer goods sometimes, about the logistics. And when you talk about exclusive luxury, you need to know a lot about the products, customers, but also about some very different industries. And not by chance, here with us there is Nicola, who worked for BMW, Diesel, Safilo, Tod's, so companies that do very different products if you look at them, but there are some commonalities among them.
There is a lot in common. I say that when they ask me why I work with cars and with fashion, I say that the first things that you see on a person in terms of personality are the way he or she is dressed and the car he or she is driving. So brand building is very much alike, because it's both brands with a lot of emotional involvement and a lot of psychology in that.
Yeah, it's I think it's very important and interesting when we talk about customers, market behavior, um, understanding the weight of the um, personal attachment, so the psychological connection between an individual and a brand, a product category, and on the other hand, the social effect, the interaction among people related to consumption, related to shopping behavior. So these are two elements. And for example, in one of the trends we've been talking about in the last years was that in Europe, luxury was going more towards the personal attachment, the one-to-one relationship between the person and a brand. In other countries, countries where, let's say, economic development arrived later, the social effect is still very strong and the dominant factor in consumer behavior for fashion and luxury. So I think these matters are very interesting because at the end of the day are about trying to understand what people think, what people do, which is about human behavior. So I don't see so many hands, so many people raising hands, but I mean, in Italy it's very late, so it's 11 o'clock. So I think we could, if there aren't questions or comments, we could allow Nicola to go to have some rest.
Angelo, antes
Yes.
que terminamos, me gustaría recordar a todos que la semana que viene tenemos una charla virtual el martes 6 a las 5 horas, donde vamos presentando el máster. Entonces están todos invitados a escuchar nuestra propuesta académica y quería recordar esto. Muchísimas gracias. Espero que todos lo disfrutaron como lo disfruté yo la charla de Nicola y de Angelo. Fue un placer escucharlo, la verdad. Muchas gracias.
Okay.
Grazie,
yes,
Sara, grazie Angelo, and thank you everybody for listening. So it was a good opportunity.
Thank you to everybody, and you are very welcome to come again and to listen and talk to our lectures. There will be others. We are planning a master lecture about sport management and other sectors. So keep in touch, and we will do more. And also keep in touch if you are interested in our courses, in our programs, and in our activities at the University of Bologna in Italy and at the Buenos Aires branch. So thank you and good night.
Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.